the spiritual identity of the 144,000 in Revelation. The sealed servants of the final hour. In the final hour of human history, as the world spirals toward chaos, a sealed group rises, marked not by man, but by God. Revelation speaks of 144,000 souls, untouched by corruption, unshaken by deception. While the beast enforces his counterfeit mark, these servants of God bear his true seal. They walk in purity, untouched by spiritual compromise, and follow the Lamb with unwavering loyalty. Who are they? Why are they chosen? And could this sealed group be the last light before global darkness falls? The answer reveals a powerful contrast between God's true remnant and the world's ultimate deception. What most believers don't realize is that the 144,000 aren't just random people chosen by lottery. They possess 7 specific spiritual traits that qualify them for the most dangerous mission in human history. Hidden within their tribal identities are 5 prophetic reasons that reveal God's master plan for the end times. But the most shocking discovery? This sealed group represents the ultimate answer to Satan's final assault on humanity. The first spiritual trait: complete purity. Now here are the 7 spiritual traits that qualify the 144,000 for end-time service. The first trait is revealed in Revelation 14:4. These are those who did not defile themselves with women, for they remained virgins. This isn't just about physical celibacy, it's about spiritual purity. In biblical symbolism, spiritual unfaithfulness is often described as adultery or prostitution. The 144,000 have never compromised their faith or mixed truth with error. Here's the incredible standard. While the world falls for the Antichrist's deception, these servants remain completely pure in their beliefs. The mystery of the 144,000 begins with divine protection. Revelation 7:3-4 records a crucial moment. Do not harm the land or the sea or the trees until we put a seal on the foreheads of the servants of our God. Then I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 from all the tribes of Israel. This sealing happens right before God's judgment begins to fall on the earth. While the world experiences unprecedented disasters, these 144,000 remain completely protected. They're not sealed for comfort. They're sealed for service during the most dangerous time in human history. The second spiritual trait appears in the same verse. They follow the Lamb wherever he goes. This describes complete obedience and total surrender. The phrase, wherever he goes, suggests they're willing to go anywhere, face any danger, and endure any hardship for Christ. Their loyalty is unshakable, and their obedience is immediate. The third spiritual trait is found in Revelation 14:4. They were purchased from among mankind and offered as first fruits to God and the Lamb. Revelation 7:5-8 lists exactly 12,000 from each of Israel's 12 tribes. But here's the mind-blowing detail most people miss. The tribal list isn't the same as the original 12 sons of Jacob. Dan is missing completely, and Joseph's son Manasseh is included instead. Why would God change the tribal lineup for the 144,000? Because this isn't about physical bloodlines, it's about spiritual qualifications. Dan's tribe was associated with idolatry and judgment throughout Israel's history. Genesis 49:17 prophesied that Dan would be a serpent by the roadside, a viper along the path. But Manasseh represents God's ability to bring blessing from brokenness. His name means causing to forget. because God helps us forget past pain through present blessing. The 144,000 come from tribes that represent spiritual victory, not spiritual failure. But Revelation 14:1-3 reveals even more about their identity. Then I looked, and there before me was the Lamb, standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 who had his name and his Father's name written on their foreheads. And I heard a sound from heaven like the roar of rushing waters and like a loud peal of thunder. The sound I heard was like that of harpists playing their harps, and they sang a new song before the throne and before the four living creatures and the elders. No one could learn the song except the 144,000 who had been redeemed from the earth. These aren't just protected people, they're worshiping warriors. They have direct access to God's throne. They sing songs no one else can learn. They bear God's name on their foreheads as identification and protection. But notice where they're standing, Mount Zion in Jerusalem. This suggests they have a special connection to Israel and a specific role in God's plan for his chosen people during the end times. The fourth spiritual trait is revealed in Revelation 14:5. No lie was found in their mouths. This describes perfect honesty and absolute truthfulness. In a world filled with deception, propaganda, and fake news, these servants speak only truth. But this goes deeper than just avoiding lies. It means they never compromise truth for convenience. They never shade the truth to avoid persecution. They never remain silent when they should speak truth. Their mouths become weapons of truth in a world drowning in deception. The fifth spiritual trait appears in the same verse. They are blameless. This doesn't mean they never sinned. It means they've been completely cleansed by Jesus' blood and now live without compromise. Here's what makes this remarkable. While the world becomes increasingly corrupt during the tribulation, these servants become increasingly holy. Instead of being pulled down by their environment, they rise above it through God's power. The sixth spiritual trait is their worship ability. Revelation 14:3 says they sang a new song before the throne that no one could learn, except the 144,000. This describes a special intimacy with God that produces unique worship. The seventh and final spiritual trait is their sealing by God Himself. Revelation 7:3 describes them as having God's seal on their foreheads. This provides supernatural protection, divine identification, and spiritual authority. The seal isn't just protection from physical harm, it's protection from spiritual deception. While the world falls for the Antichrist lies, the sealed servants can't be fooled because God's mark on their foreheads gives them supernatural discernment. Now, here are 5 prophetic reasons why their tribal names matter in God's end-time plan. The first reason is historical representation. Each tribe carries specific spiritual meanings and prophetic promises that will be fulfilled through the 144,000. Judah means praise and represents worship and kingship. Reuben means behold a son. Gad means good fortune and represents blessing in the midst of trouble. The second prophetic reason, geographical significance. The second prophetic reason involves geographical significance. The third prophetic reason is spiritual restoration. The regathering of all 12 tribes through the 144,000 represents God's restoration of Israel's spiritual identity after centuries of dispersion and spiritual blindness. Romans 11:25-26 prophesies that Israel has experienced a hardening in part until the full number of the Gentiles has come in, and in this way all Israel will be saved. The 144,000 represent the beginning of this national spiritual awakening. The fourth prophetic reason involves completing unfinished business. The 144,000 will fulfill the original spiritual destiny that each tribe was meant to accomplish. But the most striking feature of the 144,000 is their contrast with those who take the beast's mark. Revelation 13:16-17 describes how the beast forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark. The beast marks people on their right hands or foreheads for economic control and spiritual slavery. But God seals his servants on their foreheads for spiritual protection and divine service. The beast's mark leads to damnation. God's seal leads to salvation. Here's the mind-blowing parallel. Both markings involve the forehead, but they represent completely opposite kingdoms. The beast mark identifies those who belong to Satan. God's seal identifies those who belong to Christ. The protection given to the 144,000 is supernatural and complete. Revelation 9:4 describes locusts from the bottomless pit who are told not to harm the grass of the earth or any plant or tree, but only those people who did not have the seal of God on their foreheads. Even demonic creatures must obey God's protection order. The seal isn't just symbolic, it's a supernatural force field that demons cannot penetrate. While the world suffers unprecedented spiritual and physical attacks, the 144,000 remain completely safe. The timing of the 144,000 sealing reveals God's perfect plan. They're sealed before the judgments begin, but after the church is raptured. This suggests they're converted to Christ after the rapture and then immediately sealed for service. Here's what this means. Even after the church is taken to heaven, God continues his work on earth through these specially chosen servants. The world won't be without a witness during the tribulation. The 144,000 ensure that the gospel continues to be preached even during the worst persecution in history. Their appearance proves that God never abandons humanity completely, even during judgment. His mercy continues even during wrath. Spiritually, they represent everything the Antichrist's followers are not. Where his followers are deceived, the 144,000 walk in truth. Where his followers are corrupt, the 144,000 remain pure. Where his followers worship the creature, the 144,000 worship the Creator. They're living proof that even in the world's darkest hour, God has a people who belong completely to him. Their existence demonstrates that faith can triumph over fear, truth can overcome deception, and purity can survive in a polluted world. The 144,000 raise a challenging question for believers today. If God is looking for servants with complete purity, absolute truthfulness, and unwavering loyalty, would you qualify? These 7 spiritual traits aren't just for end-time servants. They're the standard God desires for all believers in every generation. Are you walking in spiritual purity? Are you following Jesus with complete obedience? Are you speaking truth without compromise? Here's the incredible reality. While we may not be part of the 144,000, we can develop the same spiritual traits they possess. We can pursue the same purity, practice the same truthfulness, and demonstrate the same loyalty to Christ. In the final hour of human history, 2 groups will emerge, those marked by the beast for destruction and those sealed by God for service. The contrast couldn't be clearer. The beast's followers will be driven by fear, deception, and compromise. God's sealed servants will be motivated by faith, truth, and purity. The beast's mark will lead to eternal judgment. God's seal will lead to eternal reward. The 144,000 represent God's final demonstration that His grace is more powerful than Satan's deception. His truth is stronger than the enemy's lies, and His servants are more loyal than the devil's followers. As the world spirals toward chaos, remember this: God always has a remnant. Even in the darkest hour, He has servants who cannot be corrupted, cannot be deceived, and cannot be stopped. The sealed group is coming. The last light before global darkness is prepared. The ultimate contrast between God's truth and the world's deception will soon be revealed. The question isn't whether the 144,000 will be ready. God will make sure they are. The question is, will you be ready to recognize God's work when you see it? Will you choose God's seal over the beast's mark when the time comes? The final hour is approaching. The sealed servants are being prepared. The last great harvest is about to begin. Which side will you choose when the ultimate contrast is revealed?